Hiya, my name's Bruce Newlands. I'm the chair of the Inverclyde shed, and today I'm going to give you a wee tour of our community garden down at Shore Street in Gourock. So this is the Shore Street garden. It consists of a number of raised beds, so we've got 10 large raised beds, and you can see some smaller raised beds the left hand side there. I'm looking at it from the south, so it's kind of got some trees round about it and the railways on the right hand side there. We've got a orchard beyond that timber fence as well. Here's Harry, the dog, so he's just visiting and kind of seeing a few things. We've got quite a lot of scrubbing things at the moment that we're processing, so this scrub stuff here is all from on site, and it'll be chipped down and used in the compost, which I'll show you in a few seconds. We've got some beds still going, so these were overwintering leeks, shallots and Welsh onions. Tatty bags, you can see all around about, it's about 75 in total, all sorts of different varieties of tatties. We've also got here some timber that we've taken down from the trees alongside here, so there'll be a degree of kind of pollarding going on. This is white beam, and what we do is we'll cut this down further and it'll be used for our carving club. We also got some donations recently of lime as well. Again, we'll cut that down and use it for the carving club. We also use logs for, in this case, a little mushroom farm. So we plug the logs with mycelium, and mushrooms pop out the side of these logs. So I'm just going to give you a wee walk. This bed is a good example. So there's some garlic that was put in last year. But basically this bed's ready to go this year, so we'll probably have a range of brassicas, different cabbages, kale, maybe cauliflower as well. And the next one you can see maybe how it might look more full. So again, there's garlic, kale, Welsh onion, cauliflower in there at the moment. There's still some gaps for things. We also do these, so we do these kind of vertical frames at the far end, so there's beans planted in those. And then we've got, these beds are really getting ready for lettuce, is the main thing, and salads. So you can see we've got kind of frames for putting fleeces and polythene over that later in the year, and nets and stuff. These are our elephant garlic that's in here. So you can see there, they should end up being big things. These are some of the smaller beds, so these were made with scaffold boards. We're about to kind of just fill these up a little bit at the moment, and start using them for small batches of things. They're quite easy for kids to get access to, and for disabled folk to get access to as well. The far end there you can kind of see, so we've got a variety of whisky barrels that we use with bean planters and bean canes for growing in there, all different sorts of varieties again. So we'll just walk around here. You see on the floor we use wood chips. So the idea is that in future, this is our kind of future compost, long-term compost, that we actually just scrape up the paths and we can use them as a kind of mulch. We just leave it kind of sitting there. So here's our strawberry bed. There's about 60 strawberries in there, plants that obviously they grow with runners. And we've got a few here as well. So we're trying out, these are some experimental bits and pieces. So there's some strawberries and beans growing alongside each other in these two beds here. And then these barrels, we're actually trying asparagus this year, just to see how it grows before we kind of maybe put it into the main beds. This area here, so we've got a small metal shed, we've got a couple of water butts there, and we've got a really small greenhouse that we use for some propagation. At the moment it's storing some timber projects, and you can see we've got a kind of work area there as well, where we keep things and we make things as well. In the background you can see a lot more logs that we use. I'm just going to quickly go over here and show you something as well. And we also have got a lot of reclaimed timber here, and a lawnmower that we use for adjacent grass areas for making compost. I'll just go round back to show you something else. So this is a bed, this is Ducat garlic. It's, I believe, has been bred in Nairn, particularly for Scottish environment, so it seems to be coming on okay. It was put in last autumn, so it's just coming up over the winter. We're expecting great things from that. And again here you can see, so here's one of those bed frames getting produced. Well, it's not been erected yet, and you can see we've got different cabbages in here and some nice curly kale. That's its second year now coming on. There's a little bit I kind of going to seed at the top, but they just keep growing, so just pluck them and keep them going. If we get into this area, so we've got a couple of, these are called our Skunk Works. So these are for special, and we do hot composting in these two, or try to. But then we've also got this range of compost bins here, so it's about 6 tons in total we could be making. The one here at the moment has got seaweed in it, and we're kind of doing a blend of seaweed, and we get a lot of coffee grounds. So this is all from local cafes, and you can see we've got cardboard and various other things. We get people donating food here as well. It's waste food, so that's all ready to go into the compost. You see bag stuff as well. There's some cut up paper people donate as well. We've got our thermometers that we use. We keep, this one is just a fine compost, so the chips that we make are quite fine. We've got a little chipper that we use on site, but we also get chips delivered by tree surgeons, etc. So we keep a bin full of that at the moment, because we're short on brown material. We've also got, this is a live manure in there, so we just use that for kind of spicing up some of the compost, particularly stuff that's going on to pumpkins and squashes and stuff. That's an empty bin, and again that's a bin from last year, so that one's been sitting for about 6 months, and we'll start using that now. And that takes us into this area, so we're into here, the micro orchard, which is part of the garden. We've got a whole variety of trees in large whisky barrels, you can see here, and we've got smaller ones in there as well. They're all semi-dwarf stock, so they won't grow too tall. There's apples, pears, plums, cherry, hazelnut, all sorts. And then we've got some additional barrels where, again, we're kind of using them as overspill. So we've got tatties coming up, and you can see that there's some tatties are starting to pop up already. These are Aran pilots, I believe. These 9 here are Aran Victory. And you can see as well, we've got some full barrels there that we're going to be using as water butts this year. We're in 2 minds at the moment whether to make a kind of top on them that gathers the water, and use them as tables as well. Hopefully we can get outside and cook some things this year. These are all quite new beds. We've had a few bits and pieces in them, just kind of testing them out. But going forward, these will hopefully all be squash beds for courgette, squash, pumpkin. We're going to put a lot of well-rotted manure into these, so it's kind of heavy feeders, and then use this wall, which is the wall between the garden and the railway. We'll put some trellis in there as well and use that as a frame to get maximum sun. This wall gets quite good sun early summer through to autumn. Again, I'm just going to kind of look back at the garden here so you can kind of see the scale and the kind of context. This is an old sheltered housing block next door to it, so one of our members, honorary member John Barr, lives in that where the white windows are in the middle there. So he looks after a lot of stuff in the garden as well. We're also next to this garden, so I'm going to kind of walk along here a little bit. There's a little memorial garden that we kind of tend to look after as well, called the George Wiley garden. It's named after a local artist, and you can see where the daffies are coming up at the moment. We've actually planted a wildflower meadow, and we hope when that comes up, good bee habitat for us obviously as well, but obviously it'll look stunning. And lastly, just out of the way, we've got leaf mould. So we've just got cages that came from tree protection, and we've just repurposed these. So that's just 1 year's worth of leaves that we're just letting rot down. Give it occasional stir, but it'll produce a different type of compost that we can use. So again, just so you get a range of where we're at, I'll just kind of walk back through, and you kind of see the range of stuff we've got. And I'll just go in the middle of it. So these, we quite like our whisky barrels. they're really easy. I mean, they're relatively cheap for what they are. They last forever, and we find that they retain water for obvious reasons really well. So they don't. Planters sometimes are bad for drying out, but we find that they retain enough and drain enough that is actually very useful. So I'm going to step back here, and I'm going to show one more thing. So this is again another bed of onions here. So there's the ones that you see coming up were planted last year, mainly struans and centurions. But there's red onions spring and red onions just been put in lately in between those to come up as well. So we've got a kind of phasing of the produce. We also do this one. So this bed is what's called a 1 foot bed. You can see the kind of grid roughly in there, and you can kind of see various things. So we grow a whole variety of different stuff. This I particularly like lamb's lettuce, beautiful lettuce, really tasty. And everything. I mean, there's leeks in there, but the purpose of it is to show folk what they can grow even in 1 square foot. You can see that some stuff hasn't came up. It was planted quite late last year. Other stuff, like there's different, these garlics are kitchen garlics, so they came up from cloves that started to sprout in the kitchen rather than bought garlics. Other things you can see, so purple sprout broccoli coming up quite nice. This has gone to seed. It's actually sprawling everywhere, so I think it's purple top turnip. So we'll maybe take that out because it's kind of just going a bit mad. But we'll try and maybe save the seeds as well, so we can reuse those. Got other things like celery here as well. It works. Radishes, etc. It's really got like an education bed. This one. It's used to show people how they grow different things, and we'll start kind of moving it later on. Things that we've done. So you see this is our. I'm going to put it down in the ground here just so you can see it. That's our multi-dibber for doing beds. So we've got different centres there that we can use, and we use that for kind of when we're planting up beds. Makes things a lot easier rather than using a single dibber. We do it in lines. Let's see what else we've got. Let's give you a bigger view of this stuff. So you can see with the working area, we've got a bin here we use for pots and labels and stuff. It's a bit busy at the moment, but we've been planting a lot of trees, so that was our buckets we're using for trees. And we keep bins of cardboard and things like that. So we've always got material to put into the compost bins, so we just keep doing it as and when. And then if I just take you past here, I'm not going to go in here, but I just want to show you it, is we also got permission recently to plant a small orchard. And I'll just show you this. It's just at the far end here. You can kind of see there. So we've planted up a whole orchard at the far end there, mainly of kind of heritage apple trees, particularly Scottish varieties as well that are kind of designed to grow and things. So that's the tour. You can see just the context. So we're right by a main road. There's a co-op over here that's been a great supporter of us, and you see this is just a spin round of the garden. So that was the tour of our garden. We'd love to see your garden as well and get a wee virtual tour of it as well, and hopefully we can share some tips and tricks, maybe even seeds and plants at some point later in the future. All the best. Cheers now. Bye.